The emergency transmission pierced through the quantum communications network like a knife through silk. At Earth's Strategic Command Center, nestled deep within the Rocky Mountains, Admiral Helena Chen stood motionless as the alien message echoed through the chamber. The holographic display showed a being she'd never seen before, tall, with iridescent skin that seemed to ripple like the surface of a calm ocean. To any spacefaring civilization who values life itself, the alien's voice trembled, its translator working overtime to convey the urgency in its tone. We are the Zetharians. Our homeworld, along with 3 colony planets, has fallen under attack by an entity we call the Void Collective. They consume everything in their path. The being paused, its bioluminescent markings pulsing with obvious distress. We require immediate assistance. Admiral Chen's dark eyes narrowed as she studied the tactical readouts streaming across her neural interface. The Zetharians' home system was located in what humans had designated as the Carina Arm, approximately 3,000 light-years from Earth. It would take the Stellar Defense Force's fastest ships at least 4 days to reach them, even with the latest quantum fold drives. Admiral, Lieutenant Commander Marcus Rodriguez spoke up from his station, his augmented eyes glowing faintly as he processed the incoming data. We're detecting massive energy signatures from the Zetharian system. Whatever's attacking them, it's unlike anything in our database. Chen walked to the central strategic table, her cybernetic hand brushing across the holographic display. The image zoomed in on the Zetharian home system, showing chaotic energy patterns that seemed to defy the laws of physics themselves. "Show me their military capabilities," she ordered. The display shifted, revealing the Zetharian defense fleet. Their ships were elegant, almost organic in design, showcasing technology that was clearly advanced. Yet something had managed to overwhelm them completely. "Their tech level is at least Class 3, Rodriguez noted, referring to the human classification system for technological advancement. Earth itself had only recently achieved Class 3 status. Whatever's beating them has to be Class 4, minimum. Chen finished his thought. She'd spent 30 years in the Stellar Defense Force, fought in the Mars insurrection, and led the response to the Jupiter anomaly. But this was different. This would be humanity's first major intervention in an alien conflict. The room fell silent as another transmission cut through. This time, the Zetharian's voice was barely a whisper. "They're not just killing us. They're erasing us. Please, we've heard stories of the humans, the Deathworlders, the ones who evolved on a planet that tried to kill them every day. If anyone can help us, it's you." Chen felt the weight of every eye in the command center on her. Humanity had spent the last century preparing for first contact, building up their defenses, advancing their technology. They'd expected hostility, prepared for war. Instead, they were receiving a desperate plea for help. "Get me the Security Council," Chen ordered, her voice firm, "and begin mobilizing the 1st and 3rd fleets. I want every ship equipped with our latest quantum weaponry. If we're doing this, we're doing it right." As the command center burst into activity, Chen studied the image of the Zetharian messenger. Their species had clearly never expected to be in this position. Their technology, their civilization, everything suggested they were used to being the protectors, not the protected. But that's why they called Earth. That's why they'd reached out to the humans. Because sometimes, evolution on a death world created something special. Something that didn't just survive. It thrived on challenge. Humanity had spent its entire existence fighting. Against nature, against itself, against the very limits of what was possible. Now they would fight for someone else. The Security Council's approval came through in record time. Perhaps they, too, recognized the opportunity this presented. Humanity's chance to prove itself on the galactic stage, to show that their reputation as Deathworlders wasn't just about survival. It was about protecting those who couldn't protect themselves. Within hours, the massive shipyards orbiting Earth and Mars hummed with activity. The sleek, angular forms of human warships began powering up their drives. Unlike the elegant Zetharian vessels, human ships were built with one purpose in mind: to win. They were floating fortresses of tungsten carbide and carbon nanotubes, bristling with weapon systems and layered with shields that could shrug off direct hits from small asteroids. Admiral Chen stood on the bridge of her flagship, the HCS Prometheus, watching as her fleet assembled. 200 ships, carrying the best technology and soldiers humanity had to offer. The neural interfaces of 30,000 crew members hummed in sync, ready to react with machine-like precision to any threat. "Send word to the Zetharians," Chen commanded. "Tell them the Deathworlders are coming, and we're bringing hell with us." As the fleet prepared for its first quantum fold jump, Chen couldn't help but feel a mix of pride and apprehension. Humanity had always wondered if they would be ready when the galaxy called. Now they would find out. The Void Collective, whatever it was about to learn why Earth was classified as a death world, and why its inhabitants had not just survived, but had turned their harsh evolution into their greatest strength. "All ships report ready, Admiral," Rodriguez announced. Chen nodded, her cybernetic hand clenching slightly. "Then let's make history. Fleet, execute quantum fold jump. Operation Thunderstrike begins now." The massive human fleet disappeared in a flash of quantum energy, leaving Earth behind. They were about to show the galaxy exactly what Deathworlders could do. The hunt was on, and humanity was ready for war. The quantum fold exit was perfect, 200 human warships materializing in perfect formation at the edge of the Zetharian system. But nothing could have prepared Admiral Chen for what she saw next. The Void Collective lived up to its name. Massive tiers in space itself hung like open wounds against the backdrop of stars, each one spewing forth entities that defied conventional physics. They weren't ships in any traditional sense. They were living voids, patches of absolute darkness that seemed to eat light itself. Multiple contacts. Rodriguez's voice cut through the stunned silence on the bridge. Energy signatures off the charts. They're not matching any known pattern of matter. Chen watched as a void entity passed through a Zetharian cruiser. The beautiful alien ship didn't explode. It simply ceased to exist, as if it had never been there at all. Her cybernetic hand tightened on the command rail. "All ships, battle formations. Launch probe swarms. I want data on these things before we engage." The human fleet moved with practiced precision, their tungsten carbide hulls reflecting the light of Zetharia's twin suns. Thousands of tiny probes shot forth from their launch tubes, their quantum sensors gathering data on the impossible enemy before them. "Admiral," a new voice spoke up. Dr. Sarah Patel, the fleet's lead scientist. "The probes are showing something incredible. These entities, they're not just bending space. They're existing in multiple dimensions simultaneously." Chen's neural interface lit up with the incoming data. The Void Collective wasn't just advanced. They were operating on a level of physics that humanity had only theorized about. "Can they be hurt?" "Yes," Paddle replied, her fingers dancing across holographic displays. "When they manifest in our dimension to attack, they become partially vulnerable. But our conventional weapons—" She trailed off as a demonstration played out before them. A barrage of plasma torpedoes from a Zetharian defender passed straight through a void entity without effect. Chen nodded grimly. "Then we try something unconventional. All ships power up quantum disruptors. Target their manifestation points. Let's see how they handle weapons designed to tear apart the fabric of space-time itself." The human fleet's response was immediate. Hidden weapon ports opened along their hulls, revealing crystalline arrays that began to pulse with an otherworldly light. Humanity had developed quantum disruptors as a theoretical defense against spatial anomalies. They'd never been used in actual combat. Until now. The first volley was devastating. Beams of concentrated quantum energy lanced out from the human ships, catching several void entities as they materialized. The results were spectacular. The creatures didn't die so much as they were forcibly ejected from our dimension, their multi-dimensional forms unable to maintain coherence under the quantum assault. "It's working," Rodriguez shouted, but Chen could already see the problem. The Void Collective was adapting, changing their manifestation patterns to avoid the quantum disruptors. And there were so many of them. "Admiral," her communications officer called out, "we're receiving a transmission from the surface of Zetheria Prime. It's their high command." The holographic display showed a group of Zetherian leaders, their bioluminescent patterns pulsing weakly. Behind them, Chen could see their magnificent crystal cities, now partially consumed by patches of void that were slowly eating away at reality itself. Chen turned to face the alien diplomat, her cybernetic eye scanning for the subtle bioluminescent patterns that the translator might miss. "Go on." "There is a prophecy," Chiral began, its skin shifting to deeper, more somber hues, "of warriors born from death itself, who would face the consuming darkness. We thought it mere legend until we learned of Earth, a death world that spawned life so resilient, it turned radiation into a tool and poison into medicine." Patel's hands paused over her holographic controls. "You knew about us before you sent the distress call." "We had been watching," Chiral admitted. "Your species fascinated us. How could anything evolve to be so adaptable? You turn your weaknesses into strengths, your failures into stepping stones. Even now, you face an enemy that erases matter from existence, and your response is to try to trap it." Chen allowed herself a small smile. "On Earth, we have a saying, necessity is the mother of invention. When everything tries to kill you, you get very good at finding new ways to survive." "Which brings us to our current problem," Patel interjected, bringing up a new simulation. "We can create a quantum field large enough to trap the Void Collective's consciousness, but we'll need more power than our entire fleet can generate." Chiral's bioluminescence pulsed with sudden intensity. "Our planetary shield generators. They tap directly into our sun's energy output." "Could work," Chen mused, her neural interface already running calculations. "But we have to lower the shields to redirect the power. The surface would be exposed." "My people are already evacuating to the underground shelters," Chiral said. "They were built to withstand stellar events. They can protect us long enough." Patel's fingers flew over the controls, incorporating the new variables. "With that kind of power input, we could create a quantum field large enough to encompass the entire system." "But," she hesitated. "But what?" Chen prompted. "But we'd only get one shot," Patel finished. "And if we fail, we'd be dumping enough energy into dimensional space to potentially tear a permanent hole in reality." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Failure wouldn't just mean the loss of Zetheria. It could mean the creation of a wound in spacetime itself, one that could potentially spread to threaten multiple star systems. "Show me the numbers," Chen ordered, her cybernetic systems interfacing directly with Patel's simulations. She absorbed the data in seconds, her enhanced mind processing the complex quantum mechanics involved. "First speaker," Chen turned to Chiral. "Your people need to understand the risk. If this fails, if we do nothing, we face extinction anyway." Chiral interrupted, its skin pulsing with determined patterns. "Better to risk everything on the prophecy of the Deathworld warriors than to fade into the void without a fight." Chen nodded, then opened a channel to her entire fleet. "All ships, this is Admiral Chen. In 1 hour, we will attempt something that's never been done before. We're going to create a quantum field that will trap a multi-dimensional being in our reality. The power requirements mean we'll be completely vulnerable during the attempt." She paused, letting that sink in. "I won't lie to you. This is arguably the riskiest military operation in human history. But that's what humans do, isn't it? We take risks. We defy impossible odds. We look at something that should kill us and figure out how to kill it instead." The response from her fleet was immediate. Acknowledgements and ready signals flooding in from every ship. They understood the stakes. They were ready. "Dr. Patel, begin transmitting the quantum field modifications to all ships," Chen ordered. "First speaker, We'll need precise coordinates for your shield generators and power systems. As the preparations began, Chen watched the Void Collective through the ship's quantum sensors. The entities seemed more agitated now, as if they sensed the trap being laid. But that didn't matter. In 1 hour, they would either make history or become it. You know, Paddle said quietly as she worked, if this succeeds, we're not just saving the Zetharians. We're proving that humanity deserves its place among the stars. Chen's cybernetic hand clenched as she watched her fleet move into position. One way or another, the galaxy's about to learn exactly what Deathworlders are capable of. The stars themselves seemed to hold their breath as the human fleet moved into its final formation. 200 ships arranged in a perfect geodesic sphere around Zetheria Prime, their quantum arrays humming with borrowed power from the planet's shield generators. At the center of it all, the Prometheus hung like a dark star, its systems pushed well beyond their designed limits. Humans, the lead Zetharian spoke, its translator conveying both hope and desperation. You've done the impossible. You've hurt them. But they're attacking our planetary shield generators. Once those fall, we understand, Chen replied. But we need time. Dr. Patel, how quickly can we modify our quantum disruptors to create a sustainable field effect? An hour, maybe 2, Paddle responded. But maintaining such a field would require enormous power. We'd have to divert everything, including our defensive shields. Chen studied the tactical display. The Void Collective was concentrating its forces around Zetheria Prime's main shield generators. They were learning, adapting to the human threat. But so could humanity. Division 1 and 2 form a defensive perimeter around the planet, Chen ordered. Division 3, you're with me. We're going to give these dimensional horrors something new to think about. Her neural interface connected directly with her ship's quantum core, feeling the enormous power thrumming through its systems. What's the play, Admiral? Rodriguez asked, his augmented eyes glowing as he anticipated her strategy. We're going to use their own trick against them, Chen replied. Dr. Patel, begin converting our quantum disruptors into dimensional anchors. If these things want to exist in multiple dimensions, let's lock them into this one. The battle that followed would be remembered in both human and Zetharian history as one of the most unconventional ever fought. Human ships, deliberately vulnerable with their shields down, darting between void entities while firing modified quantum beams that forced the creatures to fully materialize in normal space. Losses were heavy. 17 human ships were erased from existence in the first wave alone. But for every ship lost, 2 or 3 void entities were forced into normal space, where they could be destroyed by conventional weapons. The shield generators are holding, Rodriguez reported, even as another human cruiser vanished into nothingness. But our power reserves are critical. We can't maintain this strategy for long. Chen watched as her fleet fought with everything they had. Human determination and ingenuity against cosmic horror. They were buying time, but for what? The Void Collective's numbers seemed endless. Then Dr. Patel's voice cut through the chaos of battle, carrying something Chen hadn't heard before. Excitement. Admiral, I've been analyzing their reaction to our quantum fields. These entities, they're not just similar, they're connected. They're parts of a single, multi-dimensional organism. Chen's cybernetic hand clenched as the implications hit her. A neural network. They're all connected through dimensional space itself. A plan began forming in her mind, one that was either brilliant or suicidal. All ships, fall back to secondary positions, she ordered. Dr. Patel, I need you to figure out how to turn our entire quantum field array into the biggest dimensional trap ever created. Because we're not going to just lock these things in our dimension. We're going to capture their entire neural network, Patel finished, already understanding where Chen was going. As the human fleet regrouped, Chen sent a message to the Zetharian High Command. Hold those shield generators. The real fight is just beginning. Dr. Sarah Patel hadn't slept in 36 hours, but her augmented metabolism kept her sharp as she worked in the Prometheus's quantum lab. Holographic displays surrounded her, showing the intricate dimensional mathematics that might save both humanity and the Zetharians. The neural network operates on quantum entanglement principles, she explained to Admiral Chen, who stood watching the simulations with intense focus. But it's not just simple entanglement. They're using dimensional folds to create instant connections across space itself, which is why they can adapt so quickly, Chen concluded. They're not just communicating, they're sharing consciousness across their entire collective. Exactly. Patel manipulated the hologram, zooming in on a particular equation. But that's also their weakness. If we can disrupt the dimensional folds they use for consciousness sharing, we don't just stop their communication. We potentially sever their ability to maintain cohesion in our dimension. The door to the lab slid open, admitting a tall Zetharian. The alien's iridescent skin pulsed with patterns of light that the ship's AI translated as a mix of hope and concern. It was first speaker Kirill, one of the few surviving members of the Zetharian High Council. Your insights into the Void Collective's nature are remarkable, Kirill said, its translator perfectly conveying the mix of awe and skepticism in its voice. But there is something you should know. Something from our most ancient records. Power transfer from planetary generators at 80%. Rodriguez reported, his augmented eyes flickering as they processed the incoming data streams. Shield generators are spinning down. Surface is exposed. Admiral Chen stood at the center of her bridge, her neural interface providing real-time updates from every ship in the fleet. Through her cybernetic eye, she could see the Void Collective responding to the shield's deactivation, their dark forms surging toward the now vulnerable planet. They took the bait, she muttered. All ships, initiate quantum field synchronization. Dr. Patel. In the quantum lab, Patel's fingers danced across holographic controls. Field harmonic stable. Beginning final calibration sequence. We'll only have a 30-second window once we initiate. The void entities were moving faster now, their hunger for the exposed planet evident in their accelerating approach. Through quantum sensors, Chen could see their neural network lighting up with increased activity. They were communicating, coordinating their attack. First speaker, Chen called out to Kirill, who stood watching from a secondary command station. Status of your people. The last civilian transports are entering the underground shelters now, the Zetharian responded, its skin pulsing with anxious patterns. Our remaining surface forces are in position to delay the Void Collective if your trap fails. Chen nodded grimly. The Zetharians were willing to sacrifice everything on this gambit. Humanity couldn't let them down. Fleet status report, she ordered. All ships reporting ready, Rodriguez confirmed. Quantum arrays aligned and synchronized. Power levels optimal. But Admiral, he hesitated. We're detecting dimensional instabilities forming around the fleet. The power we're channeling, it's affecting local spacetime. Noted, Chen replied, her cybernetic hand clenching. Dr. Patel, time to initiation. Field charge at 95%. Patel's voice came through, tense with concentration. But Admiral, the Void Collective, they're changing formation. I think they sense what we're trying to do. Chen watched through her enhanced vision as the void entities began to spread out, trying to move beyond the range of the planned quantum field. Some of them were already attempting to phase into different dimensions, hoping to escape the trap before it could spring. They're going to slip away, Rodriguez warned. We need to initiate now. No, Chen's voice was firm. If we trigger early, we won't have enough power to complete the field. We need them closer. She opened a channel to her fleet. All ships, prepare for emergency maneuvers on my mark. Divert all remaining shield power to quantum arrays. The void entities were almost within range now, their dark forms distorting the very fabric of space around them. Through her neural interface, Chen could feel the strain on her ship's systems. They were channeling more power than they were ever designed to handle. Admiral, Patel's voice was urgent. The dimensional instabilities are growing. If we wait much longer, We risk a cascade failure across the entire fleet. Chen's mind raced, processing tactical data through her augments. The Void Collective was trying to outmaneuver them, but in doing so, they were following a pattern. A pattern she recognized from countless battles against conventional forces. They're thinking like normal spacebound entities, she realized aloud. They're so focused on avoiding our trap, they're falling into an older one. Lieutenant Commander Rodriguez, transmit battle pattern Delta 7 to all ships. Rodriguez's augmented eyes widened as he recognized the strategy. Admiral, that's a pre-space combat maneuver. From Earth's naval warfare days. Exactly, Chen smiled grimly. Sometimes the oldest tricks work best. Execute on my mark. The human fleet suddenly broke formation, their ships appearing to fall into disarray. To the Void Collective, it must have looked like a critical system failure, the perfect opportunity to strike. The Void entities took the bait, surging forward en masse toward what they perceived as vulnerable prey. They never noticed that the humans' apparent retreat was actually herding them into a tighter cluster. Now, Chen ordered. The fleet snapped back into formation with practiced precision, their quantum arrays powering up to full capacity in perfect synchronization. The Void Collective realized their mistake too late. Field activating, Patel announced. Quantum corridor establishing, dimensional lock initiating. The space around the fleet erupted with energy as hundreds of quantum beams intersected, creating a field of pure dimensional force. The Void entities found themselves trapped, their multi-dimensional forms forced into normal space. Field holding. Rodriguez reported over the groaning of the Prometheus's stressed hull. But our systems are redlining. We can't maintain this level of power output. Chen watched as the Void Collective writhed within their trap, their neural network visible now as streams of quantum energy connecting their forced material forms. But something was wrong. The entities at the edge of the field were beginning to phase shift again. We're losing containment. Patel's voice was strained. The field isn't strong enough to hold them all. Chen made a decision. All power to the arrays. Everything we've got. Even life support if we have to. Admiral, Rodriguez protested. That level of power drain could tear our ships apart. Better our ships than reality itself, Chen replied, her cybernetic systems already initiating the power transfer. All hands, brace for impact. This is going to get rough. The universe seemed to scream as reality itself was stretched to its limits. Inside the Prometheus, warning klaxons blared as systems began to fail under the unprecedented power drain. The ship's quantum core glowed like a miniature sun, channeling enough energy to tear a hole in space-time. Hull integrity at 30%. Rodriguez shouted over the din of groaning metal. We're losing ships, Admiral. The power output is literally tearing them apart. Through her neural interface, Chen felt every loss like a physical blow. 15 ships gone already, their crews sacrificing everything to maintain the quantum field. But the Void Collective was finally, truly trapped, their multi-dimensional forms forced into normal space-time, their neural network exposed. Dr. Patel, Chen called out, her cybernetic systems struggling to maintain connection through the quantum interference. Tell me you have something. In the quantum lab, Patel worked furiously, her augmented mind processing data faster than any normal human could. The network is destabilizing, but not fast enough. We need more power to collapse their consciousness completely. First speaker Kirill stepped forward, its bioluminescent patterns pulsing with determination. What about our sun? The shield generators are already tapped into its output. Could we channel more? That level of power could trigger a premature nova, Patel warned. The entire system would be at risk. Chen watched through her cybernetic eye as more void entities began to materialize fully in normal space, their true forms revealed for the first time. Crystalline structures of impossible geometry, each one a fragment of a vast, cosmic consciousness. They were beautiful in their alienness, but their very existence threatened all of reality. We don't have a choice, Chen decided. First speaker, give the order. Doctor, prepare for solar power integration. All remaining ships, reinforce your quantum fields. This is going to get worse before it gets better. Kirill's skin flashed with patterns of acknowledgement as it transmitted commands to the planetary facilities. Moments later, the quantum sensors detected a massive surge of energy as the Zetharian sun's power was channeled directly into the fleet's containment field. The effect was immediate and catastrophic. Ships began to break apart under the strain, their hulls unable to contain the forces they were channeling. But those that remained held firm, their quantum arrays blazing with the power of a star. Neural network destabilizing, Patel reported excitedly. The solar energy is forcing a quantum collapse. They're losing cohesion. Chen watched through gritted teeth as the Void Collective's consciousness began to fragment. The entities trapped in the field writhed in what might have been agony, their crystalline forms cracking under the pressure of forced materialization. Admiral, Rodriguez's voice was urgent. The Prometheus can't take much more of this. Structural integrity is failing. Chen made a quick calculation through her neural interface. They needed just a few more seconds to complete the collapse, but those seconds would cost them dearly. All hands to escape pods, she ordered. Abandon ship. I'll maintain the field from here. Admiral. No. Rodriguez protested. The neural interface load will kill you. Maybe, Chen smiled grimly, her cybernetic systems already taking control of the ship's primary functions. But humans are surprisingly hard to kill. Now go. That's an order. As her bridge crew reluctantly evacuated, Chen fully merged her consciousness with the Prometheus's systems. The pain was immediate and overwhelming. No human mind was meant to channel this much quantum data, but humans had evolved on a death world, where pain was just another survival mechanism. Through her merged consciousness, Chen felt the moment the Void Collective began to truly fail. Their neural network, stretched between too many dimensions and overwhelmed by the power of a star, started to collapse in on itself. It's working. Patel's voice came through faintly. Admiral, the quantum readings are... Wait, something's happening. The Void Collective's consciousness, in its final moments, reached out. Not to attack, but to communicate. Images and concepts flooded Chen's neural interface. The entity's origin in the space between dimensions, its endless hunger for new realities, its first encounter with linear time and physical matter. And beneath it all, fear. Fear of the tiny creatures that had trapped it. Fear of the species that had evolved on a planet that should have killed them, who had turned their weaknesses into strengths, who faced cosmic horror with determination and ingenuity. You're not the first to underestimate us, Chen fought back at the dying entity. We're humanity. We specialize in impossible victories. With a final surge of power that nearly overloaded her neural systems, Chen pushed every last bit of energy through the quantum field. The Void Collective's consciousness shattered, its component entities either collapsing into normal space-time or being ejected back into their home dimension. But this time, without their network to sustain them. The quantum field collapsed as the last human ships exhausted their power reserves. The Prometheus, its hull torn open in dozens of places, drifted lifelessly in space. But inside the ruined bridge, Admiral Helena Chen still lived, her cybernetic systems slowly rebooting. Admiral. Rodriguez's voice came through emergency channels. Status report. Chen opened her organic eye slowly, her cybernetic one still offline. Mission accomplished, Lieutenant Commander. The threat is neutralized. She paused, running a quick diagnostic through her damaged neural interface. Though I think I'm going to need some new cybernetics. In the days that followed, as rescue operations began, and the full cost of victory was tallied, the Zetharians made good on their ancient prophecy. They declared humanity not just allies, but saviors, the Deathworld warriors who had faced the darkness and emerged victorious. The victory had cost the human fleet dearly. 43 ships lost, hundreds of crew members sacrificed. But they had proven something that would echo across the galaxy for generations to come. That the species from Sol 3, the Deathworlders who had evolved on a planet that tried to kill them every day, were not to be underestimated. As Chen stood in the newly rebuilt Zetharian High Council chamber, her fresh cybernetic implants still adjusting, she reflected on what their victory truly meant. Humanity had faced its first major galactic threat and emerged stronger. They had saved not just the Zetharians, but potentially all of reality itself. The galaxy's a dangerous place, she told the assembled alien dignitaries. But that's nothing new to us. We're humans. We thrive on danger, and we'll be ready for whatever comes next. The Zetharians' bioluminescent patterns pulsed with agreement, their light mixing with the glow of the distant star they had nearly sacrificed to achieve victory. They had witnessed firsthand why Earth was classified as a death world, and why its inhabitants were becoming legends among the stars.